Our next speaker will be our CME presentation for the morning, and it's Dr. Brian Borner. Brian is the director of the UNMC Interprofessional Academy of Educators and is here to talk to us about that opportunity. And I'm really pleased to welcome him today. I think this is a great way for our educators to get more networked and engaged on the UNMC campus, and I look forward to your presentation. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kari. I really appreciate the invitation to come and speak with you guys. I know you do have a busy agenda today, so I will keep my remarks short, but I do have a few slides just to introduce all of you who are not familiar with the IE as to what we are, what the structure is, kind of what our goals are, and what some potential opportunities might be for your faculty if you're interested. So with that said, we'll just go ahead and start through the slides. So the IE, just so you're all aware of where we physically live, we are under the Office of Faculty Affairs, which is technically under the Office of Academic Affairs. And we have a new space which has not been visited much given the pandemic. Unfortunately, with the new opening, it kind of corresponded to the peak of the pandemic, and that was unfortunate. But as you're all aware, the library here at UNMC has been completely remodeled. It's a beautiful space. And we are now within Faculty Commons within the library, and we share space with faculty development, as well as IT academic technologies. We do a lot of collaboration, so it was really nice to get in the same space. So our program coordinator and one of our educational researchers, their offices are within that area, but there's also touchdown areas for collaboration, some hoteling office suites for faculty, especially perhaps faculty that are children that want to come over and work at UNMC for a day. So that's a really nice space. I encourage you to see it when we're doing less virtual and hopefully more in-person education and collaboration in the future. Okay, so what are the three main goals? And I'll be quite honest, I just pulled this straight off the website, but I felt like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So really the Academy really has three main goals, and that's to improve educational quality through innovation and curriculum design. We want to help promote dissemination of our UNMC faculty members' educational innovation through scholarship, and that's one of our, has been a really big focus of our efforts the last year, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And we really want to provide mentorship for our new faculty, but I would also say for our staff and learner members as well. So we have faculty, staff, and learner members within the IE, and they really are across a broad spectrum, and I'll show you where our members come from here in a moment. And importantly, the Academy really is a service-oriented organization, meaning that we obviously, we feel like it's an honor to be part of the Academy. There's an application process. But when members are inducted, we hope that the members don't just take that and kind of put on their CV and call it good. We really want the IE members to engage on the campus to really help build educational scholarship, collaboration across campus. So there is some service organization requirements. It's nothing terribly extensive, but it does help to ensure that our members are really helping the campus as a whole. So leadership team, I'm the director. Beth Colross from the College of Nursing is the associate director. Kim Michael, also another associate director. And then we do have two educational researchers, Beth Beam, who's been with us for some time, and then Michelle Howell-Smith, who's nearly 100% time spent in the IE as an educational researcher. She joined us almost exactly a year ago and has been a great resource for us as we've built up our educational research resources. And then Kristen Lester, who's our program associate, but really in reality runs the day-to-day show and really keeps everything moving. She's incredible. She's done such a good job, and she's been with us since the beginning. And just, I guess, for your knowledge, the first class of the IE was inducted in 2016. So we're coming up on about 5 years of existence. And so I said, we do have members across many areas, and that is very much true. We now have, I think it technically might be above 150 members now, but we have members across 5 campuses, 7 colleges. We do have members from the Monroe Eye Institute as well as Epley. We're spread across we also have members from, including staff members from Academic Affairs, Information Technology, the Leon S. McGugan Health Sciences Library. And we've also, within about the last year or two, we've also expanded from being kind of a UNMC-based organization to expanding out to our network of collaborators, including Nebraska Medicine, Children's Hospital, as well as UNO. And so we now have members from those organizations as well, which just continues to kind of grow our influence and helps us to to provide services to those areas as well, which has been really fun, and also build collaborations for research, et cetera. So what are the activities that our members can get involved in? Well, we do have special interest groups, and I'll show you those in a moment. And those, depending on the group and the activities that are going on, those groups will typically meet monthly. And keeping in mind that our group is now, like I said, almost 150 members, this is a nice way for smaller groups to get together that have similar takes, similar interests, to get together and be able to build those interests in a smaller group. We do have quarterly meetings where we keep everybody abreast of what's going on. It's also a great place for people on campus that are doing innovative things, whether they're Academy members or not, to come and introduce those. We do have, it's kind of a time of celebration. Our members do a lot of great work from the perspective of publications, curriculum development, et cetera. So it gives them an opportunity to present those ideas to us. We do a fair number of training sessions, and I have some examples of those in a moment. And then lastly, we hold some events, both kind of individual to ourselves, but also collaborating with other groups on campus. So special interest groups, and you can read those, so I won't go through all of them. But again, these are kind of more niche groups that allow members in a very big IE to get down into some smaller groups and start to do some collaboration and do some work. Many of our members attend many of these special interest groups, and there can be collaboration between these groups for sure if there's ideas that cross the boundaries. And we do have 2 new groups this year that we're particularly excited about. So design thinking, which I don't have a lot of time to talk about today, but if you're familiar with the concept of design thinking, that's very exciting. We have 3 of our members that have started that up and are really building that across campus with the idea of hopefully becoming a regional influence with design thinking. Very excited about that. And then interprofessional education, given that we are an interprofessional group, makes sense that we have an interprofessional education component to this. We do work with the interprofessional group under the Office of Academic Affairs as well, with the different things that are coming out of that group. And so, many different ways for faculty to get involved in these groups to bring their ideas forward, to think about collaboration on scholarly activities, think about different ways of developing educational curriculum materials, et cetera. And so the other, thinking about kind of the core components of the IE, I just want to give a few examples of things that our faculty accomplish. And so within the IE, we do provide some direct kind of education, direct teaching, kind of faculty development type of materials for the campus. So one in particular is an event called Teaching Launchpad, which is really kind of nuts and bolts teaching strategies, especially for junior faculty or for faculty maybe haven't taught for a while and want to refresh. And so, things about how to give a lecture, how to think about a flipped classroom, writing objectives, how do you assess? So we have really the leaders on our campus that are very skilled in this area have given some presentations. And I will say that these presentations, our previous ones, are now housed on Canvas. So we have a lot of these materials available kind of, asynchronously for folks that are interested in that. And we're continuing to build those resources as we go forward. Premier Education, this is an event that's gone on for several years. So the IE faculty development and the Office of Health Professions Education at Nebraska Medicine have collaborated together on this. This was a way to to provide faculty development, not only to kind of the UNMC side of things, but also to the Nebraska Medicine side of things, and to kind of, cross the street, if you will. This past year with the pandemic, we kind of shifted our focus a little bit and really had a kind of a real-time fun session where we talked about how faculty had adapted their teaching to the pandemic, some kind of, best practices, kind of little nuances that they'd found had been effective. And I think that was a really nice way for people to kind of gather and think about doing things differently in a very challenging environment. And one thing we're currently developing is peer-reviewed teaching. We want to have resources and people that are trained to do peer review, so that if you're interested, or if you have faculty in your area that are interested, that we can provide some peer-reviewed teaching. So that's currently in progress. Educational research. So again, I said that this has always been a focus, but really in the last year, we've continued to build up our resources. The addition of Michelle Howell-Smith has been incredible in that regard. She's been very busy. And so, one of the perks of being an IE member includes that our members really get priority services in terms of research consultations with Beth Beam and Michelle Howell-Smith. We do have internal grants available. We just got done awarding our grants for this year. We were fortunate to be able to award, I think, about 5 or 6 different projects. So we were very excited about that. We do have statistical software available to our members, including some higher level statistical software that, to be quite honest, is more than I understand. But Michelle and Beth are very on top of that. And so this is another perk to members. You don't have to purchase very expensive statistical software. Michelle just gave the first of many research faculty development sessions yesterday, and the plan is for these to be monthly going forward. So we're excited about that. Beth and Michelle will have an on-campus journal for educational research, hopefully piloting this spring. And the goal of that is to provide faculty that have a project, perhaps a pilot project or a smaller project that maybe doesn't quite meet the standards of a higher level educational journal, a place to be published. But the other goal of this is really to get faculty to come and meet with Michelle and Beth, and perhaps faculty think that their project isn't up to snuff for some of those, kind of higher level national journals, but in fact it may be, and Michelle and Beth can provide that guidance and maybe help to bring that project up to the next level. Or if their pilot project has done really well, kind of help them build the next steps as to what's the next step in the research, what's the external funding that's available to really take that internal pilot project and perhaps make it more of a multi-center project going forward. And then, so to that point, that the journal is going to be called the Innovations in Health Sciences Education Journal. And so when that's fully ready to go, we'll certainly send out some information about that. And then lastly, the other goal, the IE's mentorship. And so this happens in many forms, but just a few examples would be obviously IE members supporting and mentoring one another. And I'll give you a brief example of this with again, because we're a big group, we had our induction last fall. And so we take all of our new inductees and we do small group sessions with them to kind of get to know them a little bit better on a smaller scale. So we had one of those events yesterday. I think we had about 5 or 6 new members on with a couple of our leadership team, and just the discussions that went on between these faculty who probably didn't know each other very well, but by the end of it, I know that they'd already exchanged notes. They were thinking about ways that they could work together. One had resources that the other one needed and couldn't find, and so just in a matter of an hour Zoom meeting, there was a lot of mentoring and kind of collaboration was going on just in that sense. So that was great. We also encourage our members to not only support faculty, but also learners and staff. And we have learner members within the IE, but we also, obviously, our faculty will mentor other learners, even if they're not IE members. And that's something we're also trying to do is pair our faculty members in IE with students or other learners that are doing projects on campus or need to do projects on campus. We've heard from many groups that scholarly activity requirements, perhaps within GME, or capstone projects are becoming very hot in a lot of the kind of the professional colleges. And so having those projects available for learners, but also having faculty engaged in that and making those connections is one thing that we're trying to help promote as well. And then lastly, similar to the peer-reviewed teaching, we're also putting together some resources specifically for promotion and tenure for faculty that are going up with education as a focus. So applying for the IE, it's pretty straightforward, and I would encourage anyone that's interested to consider this. And if you ever have questions, of course, you can contact me or you can contact Kristen. I think our email address is literally ie@unmc.edu, so pretty straightforward. The application period will be this spring. If I remember correctly, last year, the application period ended June 30th. I would assume something similar this year. It is by self-nomination. It's an online application. You basically fill out kind of a small form. There is an areas of excellence matrix, which I'll show you in a moment. Pick a few of those areas and how you excel in those areas and kind of describe that. You need a letter of support from your chair, supervisor, or appropriate designee, and then a letter from a learner or early career faculty member, and then a current CV. So I remember when I applied for this a few years ago, it was pretty straightforward. It didn't take a whole lot of time. So I would encourage you, if this is of interest to you, to strongly consider this. And again, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer that. And so these are those areas of excellence matrix. This is directly on our website, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but just to kind of give you a general sense of the 5 areas that we look for when we're thinking about new applicants. So I think with that, I know you're very busy, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I would be happy to answer any questions.
Brian, you've been leading the IAE for a couple of years now. Tell us what's been the most exciting part of the journey and where you really see IAE kind of helping to build the UNMC campus as some dedicated educators.
Yeah, Well, there's a lot. I think, like I said, I think the last year in particular, the educational research piece of things has been really exciting. I think along with the IXL program really building up and the new building being opened, which unfortunately again kind of corresponded with the pandemic, but people are getting in there and developing projects. It's just a really exciting time. And one of our focuses is to help faculty to hopefully think about the scholarly aspect of their, their new curriculum or their new teaching or their new way of providing content. Because that's something we're all, I'm in the same boat, very busy, with clinic and trying to develop new teaching things. But I think faculty are doing a lot of interesting things and things that could be very amenable to scholarly activity. And so we would like to be that support piece to help faculty to think about that ahead of time as they're developing their content so that it can be studied appropriately. We've certainly had faculty come to us after that fact and asked about how do I retrospectively look at something. And what we find is we can do that, but it's really better if you think about it ahead of time. So that's the one thing we're really trying to do is engage with faculty, ask how can we help? What is it that we can do, as you're developing something new? And again, I give the IXL as an example. As people are developing projects in there, how do we think about that ahead of time? Provide that infrastructure, provide that guidance, so that if it is something you want to study, that it can be done really robustly. And so, it's great for the campus to have new ways of teaching, but it's great for the faculty then to have something at the back end to be able to present. And kind of as they're building their own career and their own CV, I think that's really great too. So that's been really exciting. I would just say in general, kind of I think with the pandemic, I think the way that people work together, and I would give a shout out to faculty development and academic technologies and the work that they did to get faculty, literally overnight transitioning from in-person to virtual learning was incredibly challenging. We played a part in that a little bit as well. And that was so much fun to kind of help faculty and kind of learn I learned a ton about how to do different things and being able to provide that support and seeing our members come out and support other faculty has been really, really inspiring, really encouraging.
Well, thank you again for joining us. Additional questions, I would say to iae@unmc.edu, and I look forward to seeing more pediatricians on the list of IAE membership later in the year. So thanks again, Dr. Borner, for joining us. We really appreciated your time.